Disability looks like they're trying to change the eligibility requirements for Social Security disability, SSI disability. So we're going to talk about that. And this is one of those things that we have to take action on if you want to protect the Social Security disability program. If you or your family, possibly, we never know, you might need it in the future, or those people that are currently receiving disability benefits, those millions of people throughout the country that are currently receiving disability benefits, we want to make sure the next time you have a CDR, a continuing disability review, you're not denied and kick off. This is going to affect, possibly, there was an article that just came out, and regular viewers to my channel know that it says ProPublica, they did an extensive analysis and some research and talking to people in Washington and inside Social Security, and they said these new rules that they're talking about could kick off 1.5 million people now and in the future from disability benefits. They said about 800,000 from actual Social Security disability benefits, but when you receive disability benefits, your spouse or your children are also potentially eligible for benefits. So if you add those two together, we're looking at about 1.5 million people. And regular viewers to my channel said, wait a second, ProPublica is a few weeks late. Ed talked about this a few weeks ago. Yes, I did. I've got that inside experience, so I know what's happening. And it was pretty obvious. The Trump administration tried this during the first term, but they just ran out of time trying to make it more difficult for people to get disability. They just ran out of time. And Russell Vogt, the guy that one of the leading architects of Project 2025, who is now the big guy in Washington, the Office of Management and Budget, that's him. He's decided to put this on the front burner and get it done this time. So we're going to talk about all of that today and how that might affect you, your family, your loved ones that might need disability in the future or currently receiving disability benefits. So we'll go over that article, and we'll do a second part of this as well. This is also a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, make sure you type them in the chat there, and I will get to as many questions as possible. But we're also going to talk about all the changes for 2026 for disability, and we'll just kind of use this as an opportunity. It looks like we have a lot of new viewers, so they probably saw the thumbnail and it was about disability and they're wondering about that. So let's just do kind of a quick overview on all of these disability programs, how much it's going to be changing next year for the substantial gainful activity, trial work period. What is a trial work period? What is an EP? What is an IRWI? What is an SGA? What is ticket to work? All that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of do a quick overview. And if you have any questions, make sure you type them in the chat. We've already got one. A Yank in the Philippines asks, my SSDI is based on my work record. Does that make any difference when it comes to being taken away? No. Well, your SSDI, everybody's is based on their work record, but not necessarily the fact that you were approved necessarily. Your SSDI amount, your Social Security disability benefit amount, is based on your work record, how much you actually paid into Social Security. That's how they determine how much you're going to get on disability or retirement benefits or all the rest of it. So that's across the board. So in terms of getting approved for disability, a new claim or a CDR, a continuing disability review, that is for people that are currently on disability benefits. And sometimes every year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever, they send a CDR to you, a packet, and you have to fill it out. And it's basically a medical CDR, continuing disability review. They want to see if you are still, in fact, disabled according to the eligibility requirements of Social Security. And if they're changing those eligibility requirements, then that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so what are they looking to change? And it's interesting. I'm not sure why they decided to focus on this. Well, I know why. They're, doing the typical politician's trick. They're saying, oh, we've got $37 trillion of debt, a deficit and debt, and we need to do something. Well, that's like saying, okay, our house here, we're in debt. We used too many credit cards. We bought too much expensive cars and stuff. We've got a massive debt in our house. So let's go down the street and see if we can straighten out the neighbor's house. It's like, it makes no relevance whatsoever. Yeah, it makes no sense because the Social Security Trust Fund, particularly the Disability Trust Fund, is completely separate. It does not, the whole Social Security does not add one dime to that $37 trillion debt. It just doesn't. It's a completely separate budget. But anyway, they use that as an excuse to cut it. And, you know, here's the situation. Anybody that's filed disability benefits knows Social Security needs to improve the speed and the accuracy upon which they approve or deny your claim. Right now, it's taken 6 to 9 months, if you're lucky, to get a decision on your disability application, if you're lucky. And then, unfortunately, about 65% of those are denied, and people file the appeal. We'll get into that if you want me to get into the appeal process. File a 561, a reconsideration, then you go to administrative law judge, and that takes another year, 2 years or something. So if I'm never going to be the head of the Social Security Administration, but if I or any of y'all were the head of the Social Security Administration and you're looking and says, okay, the disability program, what's the number one thing that we really need to focus on? Do we need to focus on getting people the benefits they paid for and now they're disabled and they need those benefits? Should we focus on improving that, making it faster and improving the accuracy so people don't get denied that are actually eventually approved? Or should we go ahead and just make it harder for people? So they have chose, let's just go ahead and make it harder for people. So that's the decision that they are trying to make. And this is our time to reach out to these people and say, yeah, you need, let's focus on improving the speed and the accuracy first, and then, you know, whatever else, making it more difficult, more hoops to jump through. Okay, here's the hoops that they're trying to make people. It's in order to get Social Security disability, they look at, you know, your work history, what type of work you did, but they also look at, you know, your functional capacity, what other type of work you can do, your education and all that kind of stuff, what other type of jobs are out there. One of the categories they also look at is your age. So the current administration is trying to do away with that. So they're saying, okay, if you're 50, 55, 60 years old, that shouldn't make any difference. So you have just the same ability to go out there and get a job as someone that's 20 or 30 years old, even though you're 50, 55, 60. So they're trying to take age out of the consideration. The argument is, well, when Social Security was started, most jobs were physical, and so we understand why age. But now most jobs you can do, you know, you can do Uber, and they actually said this, you can do Uber and stuff like that. You can be sedentary, just drive a car or something like that. And so we're making it more modernized. But the fact is, you know, now Uber, they're, you know, doing self-driving cars and stuff like that. So those jobs might be gone in a few years. But anyway, so those are the things that are trying to make it more difficult. So if you're about to file for disability, you know something, then you definitely need to reach out and say, hey, wait a second here. You know, okay, if you agree with having age eliminated, if you think being 50, 55 years old, it's just as easy to go out there and get another job as someone 20 or 30 years old, and therefore you're not disabled, because Social Security ultimately defines disability as the inability to work because of a disability that lasts 12 months or longer. So that it's all about work, 100% about work. Are you able to work? And they don't take into the fact that there's any jobs or anything like that. You know, you might have, 20% unemployment in your particular area. They don't take that really into consideration too much. They just said, are you able to go out there and get a job, drive an Uber or something like that? If you can do that, then you're not disabled, and therefore you're denied. And why did the particular article talk about red states? So they specifically, I didn't talk about the red state permutation when I talked about this a few weeks ago, but what they did is they said the places that are receiving the most disability benefits per capita are actually red states: West Virginia, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. Those states right there, the red states, they're going to be hit the hardest. And because in most of those states, we're talking 50, 55, 60 years old, these are highly manual, physically laborious jobs that these people can't transition to, some other type of, office work or something like that. And that's what they're going to be demanded. And their bodies are pretty much, tore up. One of the things that is kind of ironical is the fact that they're saying, okay, we're doing this to protect the budget and all this kind of stuff. Well, Social Security disability, that's disability trust fund, is good for the rest of the century. Regular viewers know what I'm about to show here. Overall, your Social Security retirement checks. We're in November, so this click down here, last month it was 87, now it's 86. So you, according to the Social Security Trustees report, you have 86 more checks at your current 100% amount. And then because the Social Security Trust Fund is going empty, we're using it. If you're receiving a Social Security check, 10% of your Social Security check right now, about 10% comes from the Social Security Trust Fund. So it is real money. It is there. It wasn't stolen, but it's running out of money, just like any savings runs out of money once you pull money out of it. And then 86 more checks. The 87th check is going to be cut by 23%. And this is the Social Security Trust Fund. But mostly the retirement trust fund. The disability trust fund is good for another 100 years. But if you deny people disability, even though they're eligible, say you deny someone 53 years old disability benefits, what are they going to do? They're going to go through their savings. If they, in fact, can't work because of their disability, they're going to suck up their savings and scrimp and do whatever they possibly can until they reach 62 years old. And then they're going to start early retirement at 62 years old, which is actually going to have a negative effect on the Social Security Trust Fund. So they're saying, hey, we need to take care of the trust fund by denying people disability benefits, but it actually hurts the retirement trust fund. So it's crazy. And the fact that the people, if you're 53 years old and you go file for disability benefits and you're approved, you get Medicare after being on SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, for 24 months. So you get Medicare, which is a crime. It should be immediately, but anyway. But you get Medicare after 24 months. If they're denied disability, where do they get health care? Medicaid, that's being cut by $1 trillion. Do they go for the Affordable Care Act? No, that's being cut. People are getting increase in the Affordable Care Act by 300% increase in their premium. So yeah, so emergency rooms, they're going to go to the emergency rooms, and it's going to cost everybody even more because emergency room care always costs 10 times more than anything else. All right, so that is what the situation is if we let it happen. So anytime there's a policy idea to change that, they're supposed to put it out to the public. Whether they listen, that's a whole different issue, but they're supposed to put it out to the public and say, okay, this is the proposal that we're thinking about to make it more difficult for people to receive disability benefits. What do y'all think? And when that actually comes out, when that process starts, hopefully it doesn't, it's one of those things where they do it, they release it at 1 o'clock in the morning and they close it at 1:01 in the morning for public comments, or they let you comment and they just delete the comments. And anyway, but I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what's going on. And once the comments come out, I will let you all know. And so you can take an action on it if you disagree with it. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the changes for disability and explain what these are. All right, so for 2026, substantial gainful activity. So substantial gainful activity, again, Social Security defines disability as the inability to work. But you can work and collect disability. They consider it substantial gainful activity. If it's not substantial, then they don't consider it work. So if you're, working at a job, at a, factory or whatever, plumber making, $70,000 a year, $50,000, $60,000 a year, then you're going to be denied. But if because of your disability, you're not able to do that job anymore, and you can only work like a day a week or 2 days a week or something like that, and you do an Uber or something, and whatever you do just to scrape by to pay the rent and put food in your mouth, which, because no more food stamps, but anyway, not sure what's going on with that right now. But if you make under $1,620, then you're good. Then you can file for disability. You can continue to receive disability. It's not an issue. So you are able to work and collect disability benefits. So for 2026, that number goes up to $1,690. So if you've got anybody that you know that's looking to file for disability, they have to be under $1,690. If they're making $1,691 starting January, then Social Security is just going to go ahead and deny their application because they're doing substantial gainful activity. There's exceptions on there called IRWIs, impairment-related work expenses. So if you have to buy some type of apparatus or something, you have to pay every month for whatever in order for you to work, then they can deduct that. Like if you have to pay, buy some type of reader or some type of special chair or something like that, that's $100 a month. So they might, take that off there. So there's always exceptions, the exceptions, the exceptions. We're putting together a team, Mai Jackson, who does the personal appointments, the one-on-one appointments, and you can schedule an appointment with her. She is putting together a team, but these are the only thing we charge for. So you can talk to a former Social Security employee that knows everything about everything for 30 minutes over the phone, and she can walk you through retirement benefits, disability benefits, but she's putting together a team to help you file for disability, retirement benefits, or something else by popular demand. Okay, so that is substantial gainful activity. And here's something, a lot of people don't understand this next thing. Once you're on disability benefits and you are able to work, remember, you are able to work, but here's a little bit more difficult issue people miss. You have what's called the trial work period. It's a 9-month, not necessarily consecutive. You can work a month, take off for a month or two, and then work another month, but total of 9 months. During that 9 months, you can make as much as you want, and it doesn't affect your Social Security disability because it's a trial work period. Everybody wants you to go back to work. If you can go back to work, if you want to try to see if you can go back to work, everybody. This is why Congress made these particular provisions, which are very, very good in my estimation. Difficult to understand. A lot of people mess it up, but the intent is very, very good. So the trial work period for next month is for next year is $1,210. So if you make $1,209, you can make $1,209 for the rest of your life while you're on disability benefits. Disability benefits end when you turn your full retirement age. But anyway, until you hit your full retirement age, you can make $1,209. And then obviously the 2027, it'll change a little bit. Once you go to 1210 and over 1210, then your trial work period begins. So once you hit that 1210 mark for 2026, then your trial work period, and that counts as 1 month of your trial work period, and you got 8 more. So you can make $1,211, or you can make $12,000 or $120,000. Doesn't matter, and keep your disability benefits. This is one thing that we at Social Security got, people calling in and say, hey, my next door neighbor's on disability, but they're working. They're allowed to work. Do you know how much they're making? Oh, they're only making about $1,000. They're allowed to do that. So we used to investigate. People call in and they say, yeah, my next door neighbor, this one, my cousin or whatever is working on disability. So we say, okay, yeah. And then we search and we find that person and we check the earnings, or we send them out a work CDR, or work continuing disability review, and they fill it out and we check it out. And if everything is cool and copacetic, then we say, yeah, we don't tell the person that reported because we can't. The OIG, the Office of Inspector General, can't go back to them. Oh yeah, we checked everything out, and they're only making. No, they can't do that. So people think, hey, I called into Social Security and they didn't do anything. Well, now that might be the case because Social Security staffing is so low, and it's interesting. Elon Musk and Doge is all about fraud, waste, and abuse, but they've fired all the people that investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. So we're not living in normal times here. All right. So once you hit that trial work period and you fulfilled those 9 months, there's a bit of a gray area there, but anyway, those 9 months, then you go into what's called the extended period of eligibility. And then during that extended period of eligibility for 36 months, pretty much every month you go over SGA for next year, the substantial gainful activity month, they stop your benefits for that month. So your Medicare and everything continues, they just stop your particular benefits. So it's important to contact Social Security and talk to someone. There is also a organization that Social Security contracts with called Ticket to Work. Their funding is being cut as well, so I'm not sure. I've had a few people call them up, and they're not a whole heck of a lot of help. They're supposed to, but they're getting their budget cuts. There is also well, I used to say this, I'm not sure anymore. There's what's called AWICs, Area Work Incentives Coordinators. They were really, really good in a particular area of the country. They were all areas of the country, and they were Social Security employees that really knew about work incentives. But from what I've heard, most of those people have been vacated from the premises because of Doge and all the cutbacks and all the rest of it. So it's a tough situation out there to try to get help. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to do that. So if you've got any questions on any of this, make sure you check out my website, mygovexpert.com. And it's a completely free website. Again, the only thing we charge for is those one-on-one appointments. But you click on disability there, and it gives you all of the information. It talks about eligibility, how your benefits are calculated, the application process, the appeals process, continuing disability reviews. This is what I was talking about. And all the different forms, the 455, the 454, and how do they make the decisions? And yeah, a lot of people have questions about continuing disability reviews. And we're also coming up with a website that is also because people want to help out other people. So we also have 24help.org, where you can go in there and ask questions about disability benefits. So if you click on the Social Security there, and you can have a discussion about disability benefits, retirement benefits, survivor, Medicare, family benefits, and all the rest of it. These are all 100% free. And the reason we're able to do all these websites and all this free stuff is because of sponsors like Chapter. So we appreciate them. All right. So I just did a quick overview. And so let's go ahead and get into some actual questions. Linda, I think the first time we saw Linda here. Hey, Linda, welcome. Welcome to the best community on social media. We help people out every day. And so now that you're part of the community, you have to help out other people. You have to pay it forward. All the information you learn, you have to take it in your community and share it and all that stuff. So, all right. My son draws off me or his father. My son, he was 2.5 when he had the entire R hemisphere of his brain removed. He doesn't walk, talk, still wears diapers. He can't work. What will they do to him? Okay. You just have to make sure once they start, with him, it shouldn't be an issue. They're trying to make it difficult for those 50 and older. But one of the things they're also doing is increasing those CDRs. I've heard from inside the Beltway that those CDRs are being increased substantially. So you just have to prepare for that. In your son's particular case, so again, here's the continuing disability reviews here. Let me go ahead and pull it up. The continuing disability, excuse me one second. So this is live. The continuing disability review. So this is the only way they could kick him off, anybody off. So there's two types of CDRs, continuing disability reviews. There is a medical continuing disability review, and then there's a work continuing disability review. Anytime Social Security thinks you're working, that's what they do. So for your son, obviously, that's not an issue. For medical, in his particular situation, I mean, you know, have you ever gotten a CDR? People, you know, say, hey, I don't know what Ed's talking about. I've never gotten a CDR. That might change in the future. How they determine whether you get a CDR is when they approve. So when your son, when they approved him, they said, okay, based on your particular situation and everything, we are going to review once a year, once every 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, or anything like that, to see if he's gotten better or able to work, right? So I'm not sure whether, or sometimes they say you'll never get one. So it really depends on the situation. So in your original paperwork, you should have gotten that. If not, you can call Social Security. You can ask them when your CDR is up. Okay, and here is the important point, the kind of the insider tips, tricks, and secrets. Don't worry about the CDR until you actually get one. Once you get those pieces of paper in your hand, the CDR, the 454, 55, or whatever the case may be, once you get that in your hand, then you need to stress about it a little bit. Until you get it, don't. Everybody out there, don't. Because continuing disability reviews, it's a bureaucratic BS. That's the technical term. CDRs, how many Social Security needs to do that year, that quarter, is determined by Congress. So when Congress gives Social Security money, they give Social Security money, for staff and electricity and to pay for the rent and computers, and there was never enough, and that's why Social Security is always, you have a hard time contacting Social Security, because that's the way Congress, the politicians want it. They want to make it, they want it to fail. But anyway, and they also provide a couple of separate budgets. One of those is for continuing disability reviews, and the other one is for RZs. These are people on SSI. They get the reviewed every year or 2 years or something to see if they, won a bunch of money, because SSI is a welfare-based program. But in terms of medical CDRs, Congress says, okay, all of Social Security in the country, you have to do 1 million continuing disability reviews this year. And then Baltimore, where the headquarters of Social Security is, they break it down into particular regions, got 9 different regions, and the regions break it down to different areas, and the areas break it down to particular offices. So my office used to get the quota and said, Ed, okay, you have to do 112 CDRs this month and next month and the following month. And you cannot do one less, and you cannot do one more, or I'd get slapped on the wrist, or as we used to call it in the Marine Corps, I'd be called on the carpet. So because of that, because, this is with every office in the country, they had to do a certain amount, and they couldn't go under, they couldn't go over. Once they send out those packets, the CDR packets to people, they can't send out 112, because then they wouldn't get enough back, because people move, they don't respond, or they're delayed, or whatever the case may be. So that means that the offices are not going to fill the quota, and they're going to get in trouble. And it's going to roll up, and it's a nightmare. So they send out, let's say, 200, and that way they guarantee that they're going to get those, at least 112 back. So they send out 200. So the other close to 100 people are just wasting their time filling out the application, pretty much. But you don't know which one you are. So that's a problem. So you fill it. So again, don't worry about it. My philosophy is FCF. Forget about it. Complete it, make copies and complete it and send it in, and then forget about it again. Because even if your time for a CDR is this month, you might not get it because your local office doesn't have a budget for it, doesn't have a quota, already filled their quota. So you're like, I was supposed to get a CDR this month and I didn't get it. Didn't have the money. So, and even if you do get it, here's the reverse of that, the other side of that. Even if you do get it, yours might be CDR packet 113. They don't need it. So they can't keep it around for a month or two. So sometimes they just shred it. So fill it out, forget about it, send it in. So there's that. But just as a preparation, and probably not your son if it's that situation, but anybody else that's, had a tough time getting approved for disability, and they were kind of borderline or whatever the case may be, always go down to your local office store and buy a $1 notebook and just record stuff, just simply. Okay, on November 2nd, 2025, I went to the doctor and gave me prescriptions, and I told him I was feeling this. And, this time last week, I was very difficult getting out of bed. I fell down and stuff like that. And that way, when you do get the CDR, if you get the CDR, it makes your life so much easier. It says, oh, this stupid packet, I got to fill it out. Yeah, no problem. Grab my little $1 notebook, open it up, fill it out. Oh yeah, here's the doctor's name. Here's when I saw him. Make a copy, send it in. Easy, 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 easy. Less stress as possible. Less stress as possible. So, and then if you do, again, we're on the 24help.org. One of the things, it's a brand new website. There's not that many, there's only a handful of people that have joined it. But that's hopefully going to change. We're going to make some changes to the front page to make it a little bit easier based on popular demand. But the CDR section in there, we're going to have a bunch of people that are going through CDRs, that have gone through CDRs, that are thinking about, worrying about CDRs and how to prepare for them. We're going to have a discussion group in there for all of those people, and retirement, and people on Medicaid, navigating Medicaid and food stamps and all the rest of it. So let's see, Margaret, if I am drawing widow's pension off my husband's disability, will that get cut? No, widow's pension is not based on your disability. I actually have a video question that talks about that as well. You're the senior manager. Okay, so you manage seniors. So make sure you share, our channel there and have them subscribe and like and all that kind of stuff. We appreciate it. So yeah, if you're receiving widow's pension off your husband's disability, so your husband is under the full retirement age, because once anybody reaches their full retirement age, they're no longer on disability, they're on regular retirement benefits. So, but in terms of, because you're receiving widow's benefits, he was receiving disability when he passed away. So it's based on his work record. It's not based on on disability at all. It's based on his retirement, what he paid into Social Security. So no, it doesn't affect you at all, that particular thing. So, Alleycat, have any other community members had a large sum of money out in their account and your SSDI increased? Is this something that they are doing to kick people off disability? Any other community members a large sum of money put out in their account? And their SSDI and your SSDI increased. The only way your SSDI increases is obviously the COLA. And if you worked, again, you're receiving disability, you can work. Usually when you're receiving disability, the work limitations are so low that usually it doesn't affect your benefit amount. But in terms of Social Security, retirement benefits, disability benefits, if you work and continue paying to Social Security, and that's one of your high 35 years, then Social Security will automatically look at that and recalculate your benefits, and that could very well increase your disability benefits or your retirement benefits. Not so much disability, because if you work that much, you're probably going to be kicked off disability benefits unless you're in your trial work period. I guess if you make $1 billion for 9 months, then yeah, you're going to get a hefty, well, then again, you only pay Social Security on $176,100, so there's that. So, yeah, Alleycat, a little more detail there. We want to make sure something isn't scammy out there. I was watching a video. I always like to do a little scam alerts out there. I was watching a video. Someone said their father, who was a veterinarian all his life, had saved up $400,000 for retirement, and he was contacted by the IRS and the FBI, and they said, because of fraud or something like that, someone has stole your identity, so you need to liquidate all the money you have in your 401k and everything, and then put it into gold, and then hand that over to us. And this guy, I guess, actually did. Yeah, so, and obviously, the people that were contacting them was not from the IRS or the FBI. So, someone else is using your Social Security number. Oh, Be Happy. Yes, that could be. There we go. I bet you that's it. So that could. Thank you, Be Happy. We've got the best community here. You guys are awesome. So that could be a possibility on anything. Speaking of fraud, how that works is sometimes it's an accident. Somebody types in somebody's Social Security number wrong, and then all of a sudden you get extra earnings or something, or someone that's in the country illegally pays into Social Security, and that goes on your record. They never get that money back, so it's kind of a free donation. So thank you, undocumented immigrants, for $35 billion a year donated to Social Security. We appreciate it. So And people say, wait a second, if someone uses my social security number somewhere in the country and works under my social security number, and they pay FICA, social security taxes and Medicare taxes under my social security, I'm just going to shut up. I'm not going to say anything because that's going to increase my benefit amount. You are 100% correct. It will. If it's one of your high 35 years of earning, if that particular year is a high 35 year of earning, it will increase your benefit amount. And you're saying, I'm not going to tell anybody. Guess what? 99% of the time they find out. That person gets caught, whatever, they correct a mistake a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, the long arm of the law, right? And then they take that off of your work history. And then they say, you should have notified us. That's why it's good to check your work record, your work history, go into ssa.gov, set up an account to make sure everything in there is actually your earnings and make sure it's reflected correctly. But 4 or 5, 6 years later, if you got an extra $2,000 or something over those few years, they're going to say that's an overpayment and we want that money back. So that is a reality. So Violet, new, I don't think I've seen you. I've got a lot of new people here today. All right, good deal. So welcome. I get my SSDI tomorrow, goes mostly to rent and bills. I hardly have any left for groceries. It sucks. Yeah, and if you got food stamps, what's going on out there? Someone was saying in our live Q&A yesterday that they got a partial, like 25% food stamps. What's going on out there today? Give us a kind of a heads up and what you're seeing throughout the country, because food stamps it's a federal program, but it's administered by the states. So how do I get a copy of my original paperwork? The original disability, your what's called the award letter. You just contact Social Security and say, hey, I lost my award letter. And if you're looking, it'll say, okay, we approve you for disability and this is how much you're going to get and everything like that. And this is when we're going to start you. It says that. Sometimes it doesn't have your CDR rotation on it, that particular letter. Sometimes I've seen it does, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, just call Social Security and they'll print you out another one, stick it in the mail. No problem whatsoever. But if you're looking for the CDR thing, it says, hey, does it have when my rotation is? And if not, just asking when the rotation is. So Mara, I got a CDR recently, but my full retirement age is in 72 days. Can SSDI come after me if I reach my FRA? And your full retirement age in 72 days, that office must be, well, no, I was going to say they're probably desperate to, fill their quota so they don't get slapped. But that was probably just, they didn't realize that you're going to be your full retirement age, because once you hit your full retirement age, you can make $1 billion a month again. It doesn't matter anymore because you're past your full retirement age. You're no longer on disability benefits. If you're on disability benefits and you reach your full retirement age, you're no longer on disability benefits. You're on regular retirement benefits, so you can work as much as you want. No CDRs. Yeah. So, and even if you were working, remember you got that 9-month trial work period. So you can go back to work right now and work, 2 months, 3 months or whatever, and make as much as you want because, you've got 9 months trial work period if you haven't already used it. But I can almost guarantee, unless they suspect you have been working for the past year or so and they might be doing this retroactive. But if that's not the case, then I'm sure you're going to fill it out and they're going to get it and they say, forget about it. Yeah, they're going to shred it based on my personal experience. So again, unless there's, something suspicious, you've been working or something like that, and they're trying to do something retroactive. So, Lokelani Jackson. All right, I think I pronounced that right. I'm Kama'aina a little bit. Served at Camp Smith in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii Hawaii. I'm 50 years old on survivor disability benefits will be affected. Okay, yeah, so again, you're on, you're on survivor disability benefits. So, which is called DWIB, Disabled Widows Benefits. So you are receiving benefits based on your deceased spouse's work record, and you receive disabled widows benefits from the age of 50 to 59. Okay. All right. So, but yeah, so you're on disability benefits and you're 50 or so that could very well affect you. Again, as I said, these are proposals that the first Trump administration, they were trying to institute, but they ran out of time. The 4 years, they didn't put it as a priority. Now they're putting this as a priority to get as many people, however if you say, oh, this is a good idea to modernize it or not, then, whatever your philosophy is. But in your particular case, you just need to make sure. I would probably be a little bit more detailed on that dollar notebook that you have, and talk to your doctor and get this recorded. Have your doctor record the stuff when you say something that, I wasn't able to get out of bed, or I fell, or, this medication makes me sleep, 24 hours a day, whatever the case may be. Make sure your doctor documents that stuff. Says, hey, doc, can you put that in there? And that way later when I get a CDR and they review the medical records, it's in there. Okay. That's an important thing. And another trick, if the doctor says that you need to do this, that, or the other, or take this particular medication, and you disagree, make sure you have a discussion with your doctor. Because if you get a CDR, even initial disability, if you're saying I'm disabled, and who have you been going to about your disability? Oh, I've been going to this doctor, and then they pull the medical records, and then you're saying, oh, that doctor's a quack. Then it doesn't bode well for your disability, right? So if the doctor says that you need to do X, Y, and Z, you need to document it in there. It says, okay, doc, yeah, I understand I should take this medication, and I understand I know exactly why you said I need this medication, and it'll make me feel better and stuff like that. But just don't ignore the doctor. Say, but doc, the reason I don't want to take that medication is because of X, Y, and Z. So could you please put that in, the file there, or when you get home, jot it in your dollar notebook and say, hey, yeah, the doctor told me to take this particular prescription, but I told them that the side effects were even worse. And that's why we've had a discussion and we decided. You're just not ignoring the doctor's orders, because on disability, if the doctor says you need to do X, Y, and Z to get better and you ignore them, then yeah, you're going to have a tough time. So there you go. Let's see. I live in a red state. Lies. Just because you liberals keep telling lies doesn't mean they're not lies. Just means you're just going to keep spewing them. Good luck, though. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's you can look it up. That they tried to change these regulations last time, and the Project 2025, Russell Vogt, who was one of the major architects of that. Yeah, you can prove otherwise, then absolutely. Go for it. Heidi, another new person. Hello, welcome. I'm permanently disabled. I've never had a CDR because I can never work again. Will this affect me? Have you never had a CDR because you're in the status where they said they will never give you a CDR, or when you were approved, they said, yes, we will do a CDR with you every 5 or 7 years, and you've just never had one because of the budget Congress decided, and that local office doesn't, fill their quota for the last 2 or 3 rotations. So that's an important distinction. You just never had one doesn't mean you won't get one in the future. And as I said, I don't think I was as clear as I should have been. I've got internal people that told me that they have decided to increase CDRs substantially going forward, and which is even worse because regulars are gonna know what I'm showing here. They have made more demands on your local office while at the same time cutting staffing at those local offices. So this is when a lot of people, even if you do the CDR, you get the CDR, you filing for disability, retirement benefits, survivor benefits, whatever the case may be, you're going to have a hard time. They're making it more and more difficult to jump over those hurdles. And because there's no staff there to help you jump over those hurdles, you might get lost in the paperwork, the tons and tons of paperwork. Yeah. So you've got one or two people in the office, maybe that specializes in that particular workload, and they've got hundreds of casework they have to do, and invariably stuff is going to get lost. And that's one of the major reasons for it's going to be the same in Medicaid and food stamps and Social Security disabilities and CDRs and all the rest of it. That's why we've started the website 24help.org, so people can help each other throughout the country. So let's see. Phil, Dr. Ed, have we reached the point where we should tell people not to enlist in the military because if they become disabled, the Veteran Administration will not be able to help them? Veteran Administration, yeah, they're talking about making that kind of a target. They said too many vets are on disability benefits. But yeah, I'm old Marine Corps sergeant, so it's the reason I joined the Marine Corps is Semper Fi. We were all because I was super stupid and decided to do the craziest route I possibly could, and I was poor and didn't have money for college. So, and that's usually most of the people that join the military love their country, dedicated, but also, yeah, the alternatives are not out there. Let me see if we can find some new people here. Muba, hoorah, Dr. Ed, U.S. Air Force retired here. I am spreading the Social Security gospel by helping others create their Social Security accounts, but having problems going past the driver's license, ID, facial verification. Any advice besides system said? Yeah, that's that's not because of the current administration. That's they're making it a lot more difficult to set up an account, which is a good thing. It protects, the people that actually own that account. Because what happened before is people were setting up accounts that, that weren't theirs somewhere in the world, and changing people's direct deposit and stuff like that, changing their address, causing trouble and stuff. So a few years ago, they instituted, the ID me and all that. And it's sometimes it's easy. Well, it's never easy. It's just a process you have to go. So sometimes it's medium easy, and then other times it's a nightmare. And when it gets to the nightmare proportions, then unfortunately you'll have to go down to a local Social Security office and prove your ID and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Let's see. I don't believe anything is going to happen. That's my opinion. All right, cool. All right, then don't have to worry about it. You're good. Let's see. A Moment of Time Productions. I'm on disability at age 62 this December. Does this affect me? I'm already on it, so do I have to worry about being kicked off? Again, if you get a CDR, make sure you do that CDR 100% correctly and you follow up. And if you're denied, so let's take a second and go through the appeals process. So if you go onto my website again, mygovexpert.com, you go into appeals. So anytime you're denied benefits, this goes to any government agency. If you're denied from Social Security, disability, retirement benefits, survivor benefits, SSI, Medicare, Medicaid from the state, food stamp, SNAP, Section 8 housing, Medicare Advantage prior authorizations, you have appeal rights. You have appeal rights. So if you have a CDR or file a new claim and you're denied, then that's not the end of it. Too many people, they just give up. Don't give up. Please, don't give up. Come over here and we'll teach you the next process. So the next step in the process is the request for reconsideration. Easy, 561, takes you about 10 minutes to fill it out and say, hey, I disagree with your initial decision. I want someone else that didn't do the initial decision. I want a completely different person looking at this. Okay, that's level one. Level two is if you get a denial, then you go to the administrative law judge. And the administrative law judge has a lot more latitude to kind of read in between the lines sometimes. So a lot of people get approved at the administrative law judge that they, than they did initially. So that's an SSA 501. And then level 3 is the appeals council. In Falls Church, Virginia, that's just, you send it to them and they review basically what the judge did to confirm whether the judge looked at everything. And then if you're denied there, then you go into federal court, and which includes, your federal appeals court and all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary. But fight. If you think you were given a wrong decision on anything, overpayment, denial for this, that, or the other, always fight. So some of us had a hard time even getting to our doctors. Yes. Okay. So that's a big question. And if you're going to be filing for, let's say, a new claim for disability benefits, don't wait. Don't say, well, I'm going to have an appointment with my doctor next month, and so I'll wait. You just might have lost a month of benefits. I'm going to have an appointment with a doctor next, and then the x-rays are going to come in, the MRI is going to come in the month after, so I'll wait I'll wait until I get these medical records together. No, don't wait. File. You fill out the application, you call, schedule an appointment, you do it online, whatever the case may be, you fill out the application and you do it to the best of your knowledge. And then once you have that appointment, you put it down in the application. Oh yeah, by the way, I have another follow-up appointment next month, and if I get any medical records, I'll send it. Don't send it to the local Social Security office. This is my personal opinion. If you file for disability benefits and you get new medical evidence while your case is pending, usually when your case is pending, how it works is you file it with the Social Security Administration, the local office, and they put everything together, make sure everything is cool and copacetic, and then they send it to a state agency. It's called Disability Determination Services, and they're the ones that make the medical decision. So because they're the ones that make the medical decision, they're the ones that look at your medical records. If you send it to your local Social Security office, it might get lost. It might get forwarded to DDS, or it might not. So if you get more medical evidence while your case is pending, call the DDS. You can just Google, Kansas DDS, and it'll tell you what the number is. You call them up and say, yeah, I've got a pending claim. Who's my claims examiner? And you find out who the claims examiner is and say, hey, I just checking in. How you doing? How's everything? I know your workload is crazy and yada, 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 but I've just got some more medical information that I need to send to you. And then what they'll do, if they haven't already, they will send you a barcode. And yes, there are things called faxes. They'll send you a barcode, and then you take your medical evidence and you throw that cover sheet, the barcode on top of it, and then you fax it. Always take it to a place that you will get a confirmation receipt that the fax actually went in, and keep that all together. And that way you can confirm that the fax actually did go in. And it'll go, because the barcode, it'll go directly to your electric folder, the eView EDCS. So anyway, that's, yeah. So there's that. Okay. And I kind of went around your question. If you don't have doctors, a lot of people, because they can't afford health care out there, they just don't have doctors. They haven't been able to go to the doctor. Don't worry about that either. If you don't have any medical evidence, you don't have any medical evidence. You send them the information. You write up as much as you can. I can't do this. I can't walk for more than 5 minutes, yada, yada, yada. And then you send it up. And then if they need for you to see a doctor, they will pay for you to see a doctor. It's called a consultative exam, a CE. So they will send you to a Social Security contracted doctor that specializes in whatever issue you have. And that doctor will evaluate you and check everything out and then send that report to the DDS. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that just don't have medical anything. So they think they can't file for disability because they don't have any proof. Too many. Please, let's reach out to our communities here. And if you're some type of religious organization, get up on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, whenever the case may be, and say, hey, I've heard some of y'all talking about disability benefits and this, that, and the other. Here's the scoop. So Thank you for this community for helping others. Yes, you're welcome, Alley Cat. So hopefully I answered you. I answered your question, and then I think the other community member helped me out, and maybe it was a fraud type stuff. So, all right. Marie, Dr. Ed, when are we going to be told that medical care will not be available for anyone? The system is broken. Yeah, I found a great graphic. It's talking about all the countries in the world that have universal health care for their citizens and how many countries pay $700 billion a year for their military. Guess what? Almost every country has universal health care, and we're the only country that pays $700 billion a year for, yeah. PG, I am 8 months away from reaching full retirement age. Oh, okay. All right. So I think I already answered that one. Oh, here's a new one. I'm having to jump through hoops for real ID because of my married name versus my birth certificate. I have to get my marriage certificate for the county clerk. Costing me $45. Yeah. So you probably need to change if you're, it's based on your social security card. So if you didn't change your name on your social security card when you got married or divorced or whatever the case may be, then you need to change that because the system interacts there. So you have to make sure you do that. So, and some people, they say, yeah, I don't want to go down there. And the form that you need is an SS5. It's a request for a social security card. And you're like, I don't need a social security card. I just need to change my name. Well, that's the form you use, SS5, super easy to fill out. And some people say, well, I don't want to do it. I'll just do it when I file for retirement. That's fine. Yeah. You can do it as part of their retirement process. I've done it hundreds of thousands of times. So you file for application and then you say, oh yeah, by the way, I need to change my name too. All right, no problem. So if you didn't have any other issues, you can always wait till you file for benefits. So Leslie, what's up, Leslie? I am 58, applied for disability for multiple disabilities 2.5 years ago. Got it on my first try. See, someone responded to my comments yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody gets it on their first try. Well, Leslie did. So I kept excellent records. I am in a red state. Do you think I'll have trouble when I get a CDR? Again, anybody can have trouble when they get a CDR. So just take all the precautions. But you're 58, so hopefully you won't get it till 60. But again, they're not going to take, again, if they pass this, we're doing this to be preemptive. Some people sometimes come in and says, well, don't tell us until it actually happens. And I'm like, yeah, no, we don't play that here. And it's like, don't talk about anything until our corporate overlords make the decision for us. Yeah. No, we don't. Yeah, we are more proactive here. So, Richard, my wife has 30 credits. They only gave me 255. I'm SSDI. I was told I would get a few hundred for those credits. Are they lying? Okay, I'm not exactly sure. So if a spouse can receive spouse benefits, even if they're not insured on their own record. Yeah, absolutely. My wife has 30 credits. They only gave me 255. 255 that's also the lump sum death benefit, the $255. I'm not sure. Did your wife pass? Yeah, give me a little bit more information on there. Yeah. Appeal, fight. Yes, on if SSA denies you, or Medicaid or food stamps and all this. So. The dude must be sponsored by the Democrat Party. Yeah. Yeah. Politicians are trying to divide us and stuff. And so, yeah, we don't play that here. So, welcome to the community, but, you might be in the wrong place. My son on SSI, diagnosed with schizophrenia before age 22. He is now 37, but was never qualified under his father's Social Security, which will disqualify his special needs coverage. What do I do? He was never qualified. So did you actually file? Because again, someone can receive benefits from their parent's record if their parent is receiving retirement benefits, disability benefits, or deceased. It's called this disabled adult child. So the child has to be determined to have been disabled before the age of 22. So they denied you, or you never filed, or they said he became disabled after, whatever the case may be. So maybe try again. Even though he's 37 now, it doesn't matter. If he can prove that he was disabled before the age of 22, then hey, it doesn't hurt to try, right? But yeah, if he is, then he's denied for any special needs. Yeah. Then you just have to compare, do a cost benefit analysis and say, okay, well, if he gets disabled adult child benefits, he gets, this much money this much amount every month, plus he'll get Medicare in 2 years. And then, because he's receiving small amounts or however much, he might be eligible for Medicaid. And then you've got that bucket, and then you've got whatever special needs coverage that you're talking about. So let's see. As you were a federal employee, if the dental provider cheats you even after 2 appeals, you can complain to the inspector general. Okay, so if the dental provider cheats you, yeah, dental provider, that's outside of, everything Social Security. Social Security doesn't do with any dental. Medicare doesn't do with any dental, so, which is a travesty, but anyway. All right, let's see if we can find Violet Sky. I think, okay, well, I already have. What if you have a caseworker for pending information? Do send to them. A caseworker, it depends what type of caseworker you're talking about. If you're talking about you're filing for retirement benefits and you've got your birth certificate they requested, yeah, you send it to them. But if you're talking about disability benefits and your claims, the caseworker, the claims examiners at DDS, send it to them. Yeah, you can send it to them. Attention to, whatever their name. Yeah. Or it's always best to do the barcode, and that way it goes directly into your file, your electronic file. I always recommend doing the barcode way. But if not, then absolutely. Lori D4, I think is new here. What's up? I'm 60. I've been a stay-at-home mom, wife for 42 years. I have 5 points in. Can I apply for disability? You can, okay. You can not file for disability benefits on your own record because you didn't pay in. You cannot, you can, if your spouse is deceased, you can file for disabled widow's benefits, but you can't now because you're 60. But if your disability began last year or 2 years ago, you can file for disabled widow's benefits. I'm just throwing out all options. I don't think that applies to you, but I just want to throw out all options. The only other option is because you're not insured for SSDI, you don't have to be insured for SSI, Supplemental Security Income. It's a welfare-based program Social Security administers. So SSI, you don't have to be insured, and the max you can get for this year is $967. So SSI you can get based on being disabled or age 65 and older. So let's see here. What's the email address for Dr. Ed or chapter? Yeah, for email for chapter. Oh God, yeah, just give them a call. I get tons of emails every day, so I don't. Unfortunately, I just can't respond to emails. But yeah, you can call a chapter there, and they can definitely help you out. But if you got any question, ask it here. All right. Let's get into some video questions. And if you ever had a video question, if you definitely 100% want to get your question answered, then you make a video question and you go into mygovexpert.com. You go on the bottom left and you click the little icon there and you record a video like this young lady did.
Hi, Ed. I'm interested in finding out whether or not being separated for a long time, like over 30 years, and knowing that my husband has not yet filed for his retirement, and he's about 5 years older than me, and I'm going to be 64 in about a week. So I've already filed for my retirement benefits, which are very small, and I could use a supplement in addition. So I was married to him for 7 years. He was my first marriage and only marriage, and I am still, I never divorced him. And but I've been separated for a very long time, and I call it I'd say legally separated, because he's married, technically married to somebody else. And I wonder, is it okay for me to um, file for his?
Okay, wow, that was a complicated one. I'll get to this other Miss Mindful here in a second. All right. So you were married 7 years and then you're separated, but you didn't go through a divorce. So if you went through a divorce at 7 years, then you're not eligible. You had to be married to the person for 10 years if it's a divorce type situation. But technically you didn't divorce. He remarried, so that might be legal. But it's called a putative marriage, and so this happens. This happens more than you think. So I would contact Social Security, make an appointment, say you want to file for. In this case, if you know for sure that he hasn't filed for benefits, then what you're doing is you're filing for independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. And you might have been, you're possibly entitled to these benefits 2 years ago and you've lost 2 years of benefits, but at least you're here now. So your ex doesn't have to have filed for benefits. As long as he is at least 62 years old, you can file for benefits on his record. You just had to be married to the person for 10 years and you had to be divorced for 2 years. One of the flies here is the fact that you might actually still be married. If you're just separated, then you're actually still married. And then you can't use the independently entitled divorced spouse because you're not a divorced spouse. You're still actually married. And then that means he has to file for benefits for you to be entitled to benefits. But if he has gotten remarried and the remarriage was after 10 years, then maybe it depends on what state you are. That means by de facto you are divorced after that 10 years. So it's a complicated one, but Social Security employees, they do that stuff all the time. Well, the person in your particular local office might have done it a lot and knows it, but they might have been fired by Doge and Elon Musk. So you just have to fight on this one. So, but don't talk to someone that's just a CSR. You want to talk to a Title II CS, Title II of the Social Security Act claim specialist, or probably a Title II TE, a technical expert. So schedule an appointment, file for spouse benefits, and tell them the situation. Tell them exactly what you just told me, and they will check it out and says, okay, when do you think he got remarried? What's his name? And we'll see if he's actually filed yet. And you don't have the divorce decree, but do you have the fact that he remarried? And what are the state laws in that particular state on remarriage? So yeah. Did it happen in Utah? So all kinds of craziness there. Okay, Miss Mindful, my reconsideration was denied again. It's like they didn't look at my records before I filed reconsideration, and I'm 65 in January. Should go the regular route instead of another 6 months plus. It depends what the reconsideration is. Yeah, Miss Mindful, we probably don't have time to get to your question today, but record one of those videos. And you don't have to show your face. The next two people, I think they didn't even show their face. So just give me a little bit more detail. You can record a 2-minute video and just say, yeah, my reconsideration was about this, but I'm approaching 65, and what should I do? And I will answer your question tomorrow.
Hello, my question is, I'm age 55, disabled, divorced. Do I have to wait until my ex-spouse passes away in order for me to claim benefits on his record? Or even now, do I qualify while he's still alive? I'm 55, disabled.
Okay, yeah, so because he is still out there alive and kicking, you can't collect what's called the disabled widow's benefits. So the only thing you can do is file for benefits on your record. And if he passes away, if any, it's called disabled widow's benefits. So as a widow who's disabled, you file for benefits on his record, but because you're 55 and because he's still alive, then you can't get the widow's part of that disabled widow's benefits. So the soonest you can get it is 62, unless something happens between now and then. But 62, you file for benefits on your record. And then depending on his age, whether he's filing for benefits, then you can file for benefits on his record.
Hello, Dr. Ed. My name's David. I'm from Tennessee. My question is, right now I'm drawing from my second wife's survivor's Social Security. And wanting to know if I could go back and check on my first wife's Social Security, if I could draw off hers, if it'd be more. We were married 12 years, and just wanted to check and see if that was possible. I don't know the rules about that, but I'm 65, be 66 in September of 26.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. You can always check, but because you're receiving surviving spouse benefits from your second wife, surviving spouse benefits, again, based on work record and everything, the percentage is higher. You get up to 100%. You're getting less because you filed for benefits early, but you get up to 100% for surviving spouse benefits. Your first wife sounds like she's still out there somewhere. So on a regular living spouse type situation, you can only get up to 50%. So, but it also depends on, if one benefit amount is twice the other, then okay, that, takes the calculations off. But I would, just to be on the safe side, I would check. Because potentially you're eligible for both benefits for, either one. You always get the higher benefit. So you're eligible for benefits on your first and also in your second. It just depends on which one is the most. Right now, it's probably the survivor benefits. But if the first one passes away or something, then maybe that's more. And then you switch over on to that one. Someone asked a good question. I think this will be it. Okay, Lori asks, wait, you said Vogt, Russell Vogt, the guys in charge of OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, is going to increase CDRs. No, the OMB doesn't have authority over increasing CDRs. That's a commissioner of Social Security. But you also said Congress has to approve the budget for SSDI. Whose money is being used for the increase in CDRs? Well, it's our money. It's it's the Social Security Disability Trust Fund and budget tax money. But yeah, Vogt he's the one trying to make it more difficult, particularly for those people over 50, to get disability benefits, changing the regulations. And also he's trying to do something with SSI, Supplemental Security Income. But in terms of increasing of the CDRs, that is the Commissioner of Social Security this is his part-time job. He was just announced, he was just appointed the CEO of the IRS, which is a brand new thing nobody's ever heard of. But his full-time job, I guess, is in charge of the IRS, and he moonlights as the Commissioner of Social Security. So it gives you an indication of how much importance its current administration puts into Social Security, the 71 million Americans receiving Social Security, that they figure, the boss can, you can do it as a part-time job. If you want to get an Uber job on the side, go for it. So we're in interesting times. All right, that's it for today. We've gone way over an hour. I seem to be doing that a lot recently, but we've got a lot of questions. I apologize if I didn't get your question today. If you're new to our channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Go out there and please help as many people as you possibly can. If you have any questions, if they have any questions, grab your phone and go into mygovexpert.com, click on the little thing, the phone icon or the camera icon at the bottom left, and then it starts recording, and you just put the phone in their face and have them ask the question, and then tell them to subscribe and watch this live Q&A the next day, and I will answer their question. So let's go out there and help as many people as we possibly can. If we start getting tons of questions, we'll probably have to do a live Q&A for an hour and then answer questions for an hour. So that's fine with me. All right, y'all take care. Have a beautiful night, and please, 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 please.